So, Noam Chomsky has been an advocate of lesser evil voting for as long as I've followed him. One prop that he uses for the argument is the claim that communists failed to support the socialists, the SPD, in Weimar Germany, and this led to the rise of Hitler. This is an old Trotskyite lie and is not based on historical fact. It is an even bigger lie when you consider that the Democrats are far to the right, even of the SPD, who were at least a halfway credible advocate of the people. Now, when you say that the communists refused to back the SPD, you could just as easily say that the SPD failed to back the communists. But it is never constructed in this way because it must always be the left that compromises with the center, or in America, the corporate party. It is important to point out that the communists had good reason to distrust the SPD in Germany at the time. The SPD had been in control of the state government of Prussia for many years and had used their control over the police to crack down violently on the communists and even their own base among the working class. Further, during the German Revolution, the socialists were in control of the national government and were complicit in the formation and training of far-right militias called the Freikorps. The very purpose of these militias was to put down the people when they tried to throw off the oppressive class system. In fact, the SPD government actually did use the militias to put down the workers and arrest and murder the people. Many of the most prominent leaders of the communists were killed by these militias. But it gets worse for Chomsky, because there is really only one election he can be referring to when he says that the communists should have supported the SPD. This is the presidential election of 1932, in which the sitting president was challenged from the right by Hitler. Now, President Hindenburg was himself a far-right monarchist and a former general. He had acted as a dictator himself during the First World War, and his political views were well known. But in typical fashion, the right was dissatisfied with him because he was not right-wing enough. So the right was coalescing behind Hitler. The center and the left backed Hindenburg in the classic lesser evil scenario. The socialists said you had to vote for the far-right Hindenburg in order to defeat the greater threat, Hitler. The communists, however, ran their own candidate, a communist, making it a three-way race in the runoff. So far, Chomsky seems to be on sound ground. The problem is that Hindenburg won. So the communists not backing Hindenburg had no effect on the election at all. Worse for Chomsky, once re-elected, Hindenburg used his power to appoint Hitler Chancellor of Germany, thus bringing him to power. Thus, the very example Chomsky cites to justify his terrible strategy proves that strategy wrong. Voting for a far-right candidate to stop Hitler actually brought Hitler to power. There is no way that Chomsky does not know this. Noam Chomsky is a liar.